Let's welcome in, if we can, Democratic Senator Gary Peters joins us now. You can't hear us, sir? Can you hear me across the table?
I can hear you now.
All right. Well, thanks so much for being with us.
Perfect timing.
Indeed. So let's start there with your assessment of how the Harris-Walz ticket has reset this race in your view.
It's done it in a big way. Certainly in Michigan, but around the country, as I've been working on races as a DSCC chair. But it's just about the amount of energy that we're seeing as a result of this race, especially young people throughout Michigan. You know, I did a canvas kickoff recently, and on a Saturday and a beautiful day in Michigan, it's sometimes hard to get volunteers to go out door knocking. But we had a large crowd, lots of young people, and what really got me going was that over half of the young people that were there said it's the first time they ever worked on a campaign. They were coming out to knock on doors to make a difference. So when you get that kind of energy on the ground, that makes a huge difference.
Where does that make a difference, especially in your role as chair of the Democratic Senatorial Campaign Committee? We know that Senate map has not looked great for Democrats, right? You've got some 23 seats there you've got to defend. And I heard you in an earlier interview say that you believe that not only will Democrats keep the majority, but you have a chance to expand the map. You mentioned specifically Texas and Florida.
Correct.
Why? What have you seen in those two states that tells you Democrats have a chance there?
Well, first off, I feel very good that we're going to hold the 50 seats. That means making sure the incumbents we have now come back, and where we don't have an incumbent running in Michigan to hold that seat, we have a very strong challenger that's going to be able to win there, Elissa Slotkin. But we can go on the offense, and these are tough states, both Texas and Florida, but if we look at candidate quality, and that's how we've been able to win races in the last cycle. Folks didn't think we could do what we did last cycle. We did it. And these are candidate-to-candidate races. We have very strong incumbents, strong candidates versus flawed Republicans. And making that kind of contrast can be a big deal. And we're seeing in places like Texas and Florida, we have weak Republican incumbents that aren't polling very well. We have strong Democratic challengers. In Florida, we've got an abortion referendum on there, abortion rights, which we know the power of that to turn out people. So we believe that it's very possible. I'm cautiously optimistic, although I will tell you as the DSCC chair, my number one job is to bring all the incumbents back. And when we do that, we'll be at 50, and then Tim Walz will be the tiebreaker for us.
Well, a handful of those incumbents, Sherrod Brown of Ohio, Jon Tester of Montana, Jackie Rosen of Nevada, they opted against attending the DNC this week. Why? What message does that send that they don't want to appear alongside the nominee and the sitting president?
Well, you know, every candidate's going to make a decision as to what they need to do, and certainly opting to be in your home state campaigning during this time and not being here is something that they will make that decision and figure they want to be talking to voters in their respective states. But I don't think that means they don't support the ticket. I don't think that's what that means. It's that they know that every day on the ground will make a difference. These are really tight races. They're going to come right down to the wire. Every day that you're talking to voters in your state is a day that's critically important to that outcome.
The historic fundraising that we've seen on the Democratic side since Harris had become the nominee, how much of that has trickled down to what you do, focusing on keeping the Senate, and how has that, if at all, benefited the infrastructure and the get out the vote operations that you're trying to mount?
Well, it's been a big plus. After the announcement was made, we saw the fundraising for the DSCC, my committee, went up dramatically, especially our small donors, our online donations. In fact, we had a record the day after. It beat the previous record. That was when Ruth Bader Ginsburg passed away, and we had a huge surge of support at that time. And then we beat the record again the next day, and it's continued. And it hasn't just been confined to the DSCC. Our individual candidates and their fundraising has also gone up dramatically since that time. And it's what's most encouraging to me, it's those small donors, the folks who are contributing $5, $10, $20, whatever they have, that are engaged. And we find when people give $20 to a campaign, they're invested, they tell their neighbors and their friends, and they'll often volunteer as well. So it's very encouraging.
Senator, can I ask you about an issue that I know you've seen cause a lot of frustration among Democratic voters in Michigan? asked and led many of them to vote uncommitted during the primary process as well, and that was this Biden-Harris administration's policy in the Middle East. And I want to ask you about it because I heard earlier today in speaking with another reporter that you mentioned that you think that there are differences between Vice President Harris and President Biden when it comes to how they view that conflict or what U.S. policy should be. And in your words, you said that she should be who she is, that a candidate needs to be who they are. What does that mean? Do you think that Vice President Harris coming out and articulating a different policy could help bring in more voters?
The comments that I made was whatever her position is on that, she just needs to be herself. It may be the same as what we've been seeing out of the Biden-Harris administration. She may have some nuances there. She's running for president. She's going to be the next president of the United States, in my opinion. But in order to win, she needs to be true to who she is. She needs to know the American people who she is. We're going to see that here, certainly when she gives her speech. So it may be what we've already seen. It may be different. Whatever it is, she's got to be true to herself. And I know her. She was my seatmate in the Senate. We sat next to each other as new members. We were kind of in the back row in the corner. And, as the new kids on the block, had a lot of comments about what was going on with some of our
That's where all the good conversation goes on,
Well,
in that back row.
What do you know about Vice President Harris that the rest of us don't know?
Well,
Pull back the curtain a bit.
Well, I think others know. And I just know that she is a woman with a good sense of humor. She's really engaging as a friend, but she's also very passionate. But I think other people know that too. But I can just say that I've seen that personally and have had that opportunity to work with her. So I'm really excited about her candidacy. I think it is not only great for the country, it's going to help us win our seats in the key Senate races and hold the majority. And as you know, having a majority in the Senate is absolutely critical for the president. It's tough for a president to move their agenda forward if they don't have a majority in the Senate.
When it comes to keeping the Senate, do you care to put a number on it? How many seats do you think you'll have come November?
Well, I'm very confident we're going to have 50, but I believe it's possible we can do a 51.
I feel like there are some more questions I want to ask about those back row conversations. We can do that offline another time.
I would enjoy doing that.
Senator Gary Peters from Michigan. Senator, thank you so much for joining us. Good to have you here.
Good to be with you. Thank you.